Two. Check
All
one,
right,
two.
so we are officially hot. Officially hot.
Hell yes.
Oh my gracious. Paper maps. I know who's here.
Yeah.
Always paper maps.
Paper maps. Paper maps don't run out of battery.
Paper map writer.
Why does my microphone sound weird?
I don't
Sounds
know.
echoey or like.
You are echoey.
Is there like an effect or something?
I don't
Or
think
did
so.
I do something wrong?
You want more synth?
Yeah.
Can you turn my snare drum up?
Let's try. No, that's not going to do it there. It does sound echoey for some reason, but I don't see any setting on here that says it should be. Maybe it's just, maybe we got unused to the bricks bouncing off behind you.
That could be a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Your voice sounds amazing to me.
Roll some music. Let's get this shit started.
Once again to ShiftLess, and we are definitely talking about things besides bicycles today.
Oh, we are?
We are.
Can we start with the weather?
We can definitely start with the weather. We can introduce our guest, but I'm assuming our guest is going to be very cycling heavy. So
I think he rides.
We'll roll some other stuff. We'll have a little bit of other conversation that our guest is welcome to join in on, and then we'll just go as deep as we can into Gerritt.
Get it.
All the way.
All the way. Garrett Brink, my favorite African American, is on the podcast today. Fresh off of victory at Judgment Day. 100-mile single speed.
I was not expecting that.
Big congratulations. I would have been disappointed with anything less than first place.
So this is news to me. I was you were overall top on Judgment Day.
The single speed 100.
100.
Okay. Was that ahead of the geared, or were the geared ahead, or is there no way to differentiate that? Because our conversations with Justin had me kind of confused how that sorted out.
Yeah, I would have been fifth overall.
Fifth overall. Okay.
And first 100 single speed.
Yeah.
I think some of the big guys didn't show up, which was good for me. Some of the racing snakes stayed home.
Well, Justin and Alexi,
Yeah.
they did a team?
They finished at the same time. Yeah, they rode together.
Okay.
They didn't do a team per se. They just rode together. I'm assuming they shuttled themselves, or did Justin's what? I don't know.
Yeah,
They were ahead of me.
That's the unconventional Justin Carey.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say this is the non-traditional Garrett Brink?
He's very non-traditional in all the best ways. And that's one of the reasons I want to talk to him. I mean, it just is even better that you just won Judgment Day. But really, I wanted to talk to you while it was fresh on your mind, back from Montana, just going out and stroking off 350 miles.
And we're definitely going to get there. But that's why I want to cover a couple things prior to going there.
Okay.
Because I got a feeling if we start talking all the Gerritt stuff, we're going to use up all of our SD card, and none of this other stuff will get fitted. How much time do you have today, Garrett?
How much time do people have to listen?
We don't care.
We don't care. We're doing this for us, not for them.
Now I am going to do, because I had high hopes today. So in memoriam, he's not in a better place, but we will throw out
DJ Khaled, R.I.P.
Man, I was looking forward to having him in the mix today.
Getting the band back together. Yeah.
Someday. But so one of the non-bicycle things that I want to throw in there, because this caught me off guard, and it's a big deal to me. It's not going to matter to anybody else, but what the fuck? I'm driving the microphones here, so I get to talk about it. I think DJ Khaled would have had some input on it, and so DJ Khaled, just reach out to us, shiftlesslive@gmail.com. Give me your thoughts on the topic. But Linkin Park is blowing up the internet this weekend.
The band?
Yes.
Yeah, new lead singer.
and it makes me so happy.
What does that have to do with fucking bikes?
Nothing. That's why I said we're going to talk about.
You're a
everything.
Linkin Park fan?
I am not a Linkin Park fan. I am a Dead Sarah fan.
Why? And what? I'm so lost.
I know, and that's why I'm so excited to talk this.
I'm off the back.
It would have been better if Caleb were here. How about you? Are you into Linkin Park or Dead Sarah at all?
I've listened to a lot of Linkin Park. I've just saw the news, and to me, it's a bit confusing how it's still the same band and everything's changed.
I understand. So
I have no clue about any of this.
I understand, and now you're introduced, and now you're going to reach out and be curious, and so will the other 18 listeners on our podcast.
I honestly don't care.
But no, why it's exciting to me is, and Caleb and I have touched on this a little bit here and there, but rock and roll is not what rock and roll used to be, and I'm not a huge Linkin Park fan. But I appreciated their first couple albums. And I was disappointed when I heard about Chester Bennington passing away. So, but that wasn't a huge deal to me. What was a huge deal to me is Emily Armstrong, who is now their new lead singer, was the lead singer for Dead Sarah, and that's an awesome band that just drove my 2010s. Between them and Royal Blood, it did give me hope for rock and roll. But everything else is synth music and bullshit country music. So maybe rock and roll's on its way back.
I think I speak for at least 3 of our fans when I say who gives a shit. Let's talk about bikes.
I understand. I understand. But one other thing we're going to talk about before we dig deep into Garrett. I know. I'm driving this bus, bitch.
Jeez.
I am driving this bus.
Is Jan out of town? Why are you so feisty?
Caleb's not here. Someone's got to get mad.
I'm hurt that Caleb's not here. I had high hopes that I was going to get to see Caleb and Garrett. That would have been a fun. It's still going to be a fun show.
It's going to be amazing.
And I had to drive into downtown Fort Worth this morning and drive all the way back up here.
I was wondering what happened. You're normally like super early.
Don't get me.
I started struggling, like going, did I make all this shit up? I had to go back and look through my text messages to make sure we were on for this morning. I was like, Kevin's normally here at like 9:05, and it was like 9:20, and I was like, man, if Gerritt shows up and Kevin for some reason doesn't show up, I'm gonna be super messed up. So I was starting to worry about you.
Yeah, it was worth worrying about me. I mean, I had to go into the heart of downtown Fort Worth at the peak of rush hour, and that sucked.
For what and why?
I had to drop my son off for jury duty.
Oh, good times.
Yeehaw.
Good times.
That might be an interesting conversation next week, potentially. One other thing I do want to devote 5 minutes to this because we had our introduction to gravel group yesterday, and so many people asked about this. So I know people, and I told them, well, we'll talk about it on the next episode. But that was before I knew we were going to have Garrett joining us.
Yeah.
So we're going to front load it, just talk the very basics of it, and maybe we'll save detail for another episode if there's any interest. There probably won't be. But I had half a dozen people at this clinic yesterday ask about our Thursday ride and how it went for both of us. Are you okay giving the 5-minute snapshot of what that day was like on your end and what your thoughts were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you want to know. I felt good. Had a great day.
How many miles did you click off, Bradford?
Like 100.02 or something.
Okay.
I got back to the parking lot. It was like 99.76, and I did a couple of loops around the parking lot just to make sure I turned 100, just so somebody didn't give me shit. Not that I really care, but
and
it's the first time I've done a century in forever.
That was your first century in a long time, and I mean, I wouldn't say you were doubtful about it, but you weren't 100% confident that you were going to feel strong all the way through. How was your day on the bike
good.
after your riding every day regimen for the past few months?
I mean, it was slow. Overall, it was like I think it turned out to be 8 hours. A lot of that, though, I attribute to I mean, I caught so many red lights and so many crossings.
Man, I thought
stuff like that.
I thought my Strava gave me a message of something like that was Who Dat's fastest 100 miles ever or something like that.
That's possible. I don't know how many 100 miles I have on Strava.
Well, I didn't dig that deep, but
yeah.
there was some sort of message like that attributed from your Strava.
Well, I mean, I was just happy. My body felt good the whole time. My fueling was spot on. And my bike, I put brand new tires on the night before, which I don't ever advise, but it was all path.
And you ended up rolling which bike?
My Fargo. 2.6 up front, 2.4 out back, which in retrospect, I would have been obviously way faster on a narrower tire, but I wanted to ride what I rode. So
very good. Any major learnings or takeaways or something you'd have preferred to have done differently?
No. I probably would have parted ways with you at the very beginning and just said, "All right, I'm gonna go. I'll check in with you or whatever."
Then you really would have had your fastest 100 mile.
I would have been significantly faster, but no. I mean, I felt really good, and then I rode. The next day, just did a spin and felt good. Legs felt strong, and then I rode yesterday. We didn't ramble because nobody was going to show up, and I got invited to go ride with some of the roadie guys on a ramble down their way. So we rode from Keller down to Gateway and rode all of Gateway, and then rode back. It was like 42 miles or something. And even riding Gateway, we averaged like 13 and a half miles an hour. So, not bad.
There you go.
They were stroking the ponies a little bit. So, I felt good.
Good deal.
Pretty excited.
So, you're getting all warmed up for Tour Divide somewhere down the road.
I don't know about all that. This is the guy we need to talk to about Tour Divide.
Baby steps. Yeah, Garrett's efforts over the weekend definitely diminish anything we might have attempted. Mr. Garrett Brink, Judgment Day single speed champion 2024, 100 mile edition, right?
Yeah, finally got a first.
So you're going to retire now?
There's no more pressure to ever win it again.
Yeah, like so. Where do you go from there?
It's not a race.
It's not a race anymore.
But it's first or last.
They still acknowledge
first or last.
Yeah, they still acknowledge first place.
They do.
So it's a race.
I was very surprised when I pulled in and they said you're the first 100-mile single speeder.
Yeah.
I was expecting at least one or two guys to be up there ahead of me because it was a tough day.
And what was the finishing point this time around?
It was Horseshoe. I think this year what got everybody, especially the 100-milers, was Johnson Branch. Everybody was expecting it to be IDB.
Yeah.
IDB was just before Johnson's Branch.
Yeah.
And that back red loop was tough.
Yeah, it's a beast.
We did 17 miles out there because Nobile was out of commission.
That's what I was going to ask you. What did they bulk up?
They doubled up Johnson Branch.
Yeah, and they added some a little bit to some of the other trails as well.
Yeah.
They tried to spread it out, but Johnson Branch ended up getting the bulk of it.
Yeah.
And that back red loop.
All right. So for those who are potentially listening and not familiar with Judgment Day, can you give us the 45-second elevator speech that describes what Judgment Day is?
Yeah, I think the DORBA, the Dallas Off-Road Association, has a very big race event that is usually spread across 10 different trails in the DFW area. And it does very well to showcase and to get people to trails that they never ride. I know myself and a lot of other people don't get to ride, usually stick to 1 or 2 or 3 trails that are your favorite.
Guilty.
And you don't go and explore the other trails. So they do a 70-mile and a 100-mile option. Both have geared and single-speed options. So those 4 categories and the miles are spread over the 10 trails. This year we ended up losing one of the trails last minute due to the rain.
Not complaining.
But that same rain turned North Shore into an absolute beauty. all the sand's compacted. It's so much better.
Hero dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of little puddles, but Dorba did a great job to get the trails open and ready. And it's one of my favorite events because it's so spread out. You have 10 different setups, one at each trail, with support, with teams, just people with spirit and just cheering you on and shoving watermelon in your face or whatever, and they're just there to help you. And the vibe of the race is amazing. I think it's a great event. You have 24 hours to do it, from 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday till 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. I try and do it as quick as I can just because I don't like suffering a very long time.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of suffering involved for most people.
Yeah.
Most average people that don't train for a living, that do it, it's a tough day. Even the 70-mile geared, for the average person that goes out and rides twice a week, once a week, that does 20 miles or whatever, it's a long day. And I don't think anybody's accomplishments are diminished by the guys that are in the front. Everybody that finishes in the 24 hours gets a top cap. There are no prizes.
Yeah.
That top cap, I think, is most of the people that finish the race, that's one of their prized possessions, is getting that top cap.
Yeah.
Have you broken it down to what your total actual saddle time, pedal time was for that 24-hour period?
My total time was 15 hours and 45 minutes. The total saddle time was, I think, just over 13 or 12 hours. I can look it up on Strava.
That's pretty efficient getting from trail to trail there.
Yeah, my wife, which was an angel driving
she drove
me.
you?
She drove me.
I was wondering. I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she drove me. It helps a lot to have someone drive you between the trails. I have driven myself before, multiple times, and it takes a lot to. If you have someone to drive you, you can recover better. Your transitions can be better, because that's where a lot of time is wasted.
Yeah, and eat. You can eat and even take a nap in between trails if you want, or whatever.
In the back of the van, I can lay down a little bit if I need to. But it does help a lot having someone to take that load off you.
Yeah.
And with the van, just throw the bike in the back. Don't have to load it onto the rack or anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So was this the first year she's driven you?
No, she's driven me twice before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so what? I think I already know the answer. No, I'm gonna put an excluding North Shore. What was your favorite trail that day?
They asked this question on the Facebook page as well, and I think after Johnson Branch, Corinth was the best thing to happen to most people on Judgment Day.
Oh, yeah, because it was so easy comparatively.
It was usually, nobody has anything good to say about Corinth.
But it's a nice recovery trail.
But after Johnson Branch, it was like, this is amazing. It's flat. There's no rocks. I'm not pushing it between branches and sticks and leaves.
Yeah.
And I can just have a nice, smooth recovery. I only ate, for the first time, real food at 5 o'clock.
Oh, really?
In between it was bananas and
some would
Cheetos.
Some would consider bananas and Cheetos real food. But
Pepsis.
Yeah, but I know some Pepsis as well. It is real food, but something that fills you up and kind of keeps you going, which was,
you mean substantial food,
like a Big Mac and chips and fries is what I'm talking about. Some real food.
Chips. So, is it fair to assume that JB was your least favorite trail, or for that day? Or?
Yeah, for that day, Johnson Branch. I think Johnson Branch had a lot of people quit because it was brutal, especially on the 100. That extra loop. It put you into a false sense of security because you start out and it's nice and smooth and it's flowy and it's really great, and then you get into those back sections and it was the time of day The weather was great. It wasn't as hot as it usually is
Yeah.
because we did it later in the year because of all the rain.
Mm-hmm.
It was still a beatdown.
Was the red always in, or was that a modification because of some of the changes at JB?
I can't remember. I think it would have always been in there. They cut out a little section due to it not being ready because of all the fallen trees and stuff from the storms, and I think there was a tornado that went through there
Yeah.
way back. And I think it would have always been in there. They just couldn't get it ready, so they had most of it ready.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Which trail did you start at?
I started at Harry Moss, and from there to Rowlett.
That's a trail I've never ridden, Harry Moss.
It's like the old LB Houston. Before it was flooded and it's flat,
Yeah.
very windy, making the most out of the space that they've got there.
Yeah.
Great trail to start on. It
Yeah.
spread out the field a little bit because
Yeah.
that's usually the problem, is getting that first trail out of the way, getting ahead of the pack, and not making the mistake of sitting on someone's wheel that is slower than you should be going
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you could easily fall into that false sense of security of thinking, I'm going at a decent pace, but meanwhile you're losing a mile
Right.
or two an hour.
So do you, not that I want to give away your strategy or anything, but just from an observational standpoint, do you feel like you start out stronger and then kind of slow down as the day goes as far as pacing, or do you feel like you start to drive the pace even more as you near the end, or do you try to stay even keel?
On Judgment Day, with it being so spread out, and it's because it's so unique in that you have the rest periods between the trails,
Yeah.
it's unlike any other race, because you got to warm up on every single trail you get to.
Yeah.
And
Open the legs
sometimes-
back up.
And someone like me that doesn't train, I don't have a training program. I just ride
Yeah.
as much as I can, and way less than most of the guys that do this a lot more.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get onto the trail and your legs are just weak
Yeah.
until you get 2, 3, 4 miles in.
Yeah.
And my strategy is just to ride as fast as I comfortably can for as long as I can.
Yeah.
And on Judgment Day particularly, especially once you get to trail 4, 5, 6, if there's a downhill, you shouldn't be pedaling.
Yeah.
You should be taking advantage of any of the rest that you can get,
Yeah.
because I've seen a lot of people fail because they go hard on trail 1, 2, and 3 because they're used to doing the 10 miles, the 15, the 20 miles. They get in there and then they blow up, and it's like, oh, now we're not going to finish.
Yeah.
And with a long event like that, if you can just sustain, keep moving forward,
Yeah.
you can finish it.
Oh yeah. I
'Cause-
think everybody's goal should be just to finish.
And that's
know?
the main thing is, I've seen a lot of people pull out of Judgment Day because they don't feel good or they're cramping or whatever. You can go and they're still in the running to finish before midnight,
Yeah.
even at that pace.
Yeah.
You can still go take a nap for an hour, feel
Yeah.
way better,
Yeah.
come back and still get the top cap.
Yeah.
You've come that far. And that's the goal, is to just finish it. Because every time you finish something bigger, it pushes you, it takes that threshold up to where you realize, oh, I can actually do it.
Yeah. And that's my thing. Like, anytime you quit any event, it just makes it easier and easier to quit an event. To me, that in my mind, like I'm kind of the guy that I'm just gonna keep going, even if I come in dead last. I'm just gonna keep going. You know?
Yeah, same. And especially if it's something that you're not really passionate about, it doesn't have that same feeling. But
Yeah.
to me, if it's a mountain bike event and I went out of my way to get ready for it, to go there all the way there,
Right.
told people that I'm doing it, then it's like, okay, I've got eyes on me. I have to finish it.
Yeah.
Even if I finish it at 3:00 in the morning because something broke and I had to go and try and fix it.
Yeah.
It's that pressure that the more people you tell about it beforehand, the more
Pressure. Yeah.
you
Self-induced
have
pressure.
you have some accountability.
Yeah. Speaking of mechanicals and stuff, did you have any issues with your trusty steed?
I had no issues. Being a single speed, obviously, there's not much that can go wrong.
Wait, but you still have tires with air in
Yeah,
them and shit.
there always is something that can go wrong.
But there's fewer things to go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's tried and tested and it's something that you've ridden on these trails a lot, tires, I just run the same tires on both my bikes all the time, the 2.35 Icons.
Yeah.
I'm happy with them. My wheels, I'm very happy with them, strong. They work well for the bikepacking and single track.
Those are the Crank Brothers wheels, right?
They are. I know people talk a lot of shit about Crank Brothers.
Me included.
Yeah, and I've broken. I've
the
had,
biggest shit talker in the world at this table.
Yeah, I've had their pedals come off on my feet, and I changed back over to the SPDs. But the wheels are great, and I've had service issues where I think I had to replace a pole on the driver, and they're real quick to respond to anything that I've ever sent them. So
the logic on the wheels makes total sense. I mean, I did initially give him so much grief about those wheels because I've never seen the allure in them. It seems like a problem looking for a solution. But after he broke it down, because it's basically two spokes in one, and so you can do a trailside repair super easy without
for the bikepacking especially. Without taking the wheel even off the bike or the tire off, or getting in the back without getting the
free hub body,
the free hub off, you can replace a spoke. And I mean, I've finished rides with a broken spoke and that had no warp in it at all. So they're real strong. They're not that heavy. I've looked at getting i9s, but once I put the whole package together with rainbow spokes and everything on the
and you would have to go full blown rainbow if you did it.
I'm at like $2,000, and I'm like, fuck, I'm saving $100,000. I can lose that by taking a dump.
Now you had mentioned a bit ago that you don't train. Well, you don't have a training program, you said, and you don't ride as much as many of the people that attempt Judgment Day towards the front of the pack. I'm assuming you meant.
Yes.
Do you ride consistently? How much riding do you do each week, or do you just ride when you can? How does that work in Garrett's world?
Yeah, I mostly ride when I can. I try and get to the rambles every Sunday. Tuesday night single speeds, I try and get some miles in, but I probably ride on average maybe 3 times a week. If I'm feeling feisty 4 times a week, probably never more than that. I never ride every day. And I like resting in between my rides, because most of my rides, especially when I go out riding on my own, I prefer to ride as hard as I can, every time I ride. I don't have many. The Ramble is a nice relaxing ride for us, but my rides in between are basically max effort every time, because I'll go out and I'll do 20 miles at Irwin or Rowlett, and just max it and see how close I can get to my PRs on those trails. It's very seldom that I go out riding on my own and just have a relaxing ride to just get some miles in. So I do it the opposite of what most people do. I try and not get as many miles in as I can. I try and get
max effort.
And most of my miles are trail miles as well. I don't have many road or path miles. If the rain is bad and all the trails are closed, I might get some. I do have some routes that I do from my house that are on the paths or down to Rowlett or whatever, 10-mile, 20-mile routes. But that gets old to me real quick. I like being out on the trail. I like finding snakes at Rowlett.
So when you do your non-ramble max effort days during the week, you said your 2 or 3 rides maybe. Is that 2 hours at a time, 4 hours at a time, or just whatever it is?
It'll usually be about 2 hours. I'll try and get about 20 miles per ride. So it'll be either 2 laps at Irwin, which is now 24 miles with Cutlass in there, or I'll go down. If it's a real quick one, I'll just go around to Rowlett and do maybe 17 miles down there.
I haven't ridden Irwin in forever.
It's in good shape now. They filled in all the ruts, all the paths that have eroded over the years. They filled it in, so for a little bit there it was really bad with all of that being loose.
Yeah.
This rain's now backed it down a bit. It'll get, as soon as everything starts growing again, it'll be in great shape.
I need to get back up there and check out that trail.
They've done a lot of work out there, a lot of wooden features. They've built a lot of stuff up.
So
it's good.
Is it fair to say that number one at Judgment Day was a major checkbox for you?
It was. I've been chasing Willie for years.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of guys that came into the mix over the last 2 years, and they kind of took it away from Willie for a bit.
Who?
I don't know all their names.
Oh.
I just know that they beat us.
Huh.
And this year was the perfect storm. Everything just aligned. And last year I got, with my knee injury last year, my surgery, I was on the geared bike last year. I needed the 70.
Yeah.
I got first, which was great to me, to still get first on the 70.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that either. And this year, I was feeling tired after last week's trip. My leg, I didn't ride all week since coming back from Montana. And I was feeling tired.
Yeah.
But once again, if you can ride through the pain, you can do a lot of things.
Sorry, y'all keep going. I gotta do something real quick.
Okay.
Y'all go ahead.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was about to segue into Montana there, but we'll wait till he's back for that. So, obviously Judgment Day's a checkbox for you. What else is out there that's a personal achievement that you're wanting to chase down?
To me, a Leadville buckle is one thing that I really want one day. And there's a couple of people that did it this year that got the buckle that I look up to. Glenn, that is always chasing me on the single speed. He got his buckle this year after his 3rd try. I'm very proud of him. But that's one thing that I'd want to do that and get a buckle one day. I think next year might be the year if I can get in. But we'll see. There's not much else that I'm really looking forward to, or that it's a goal at this time. I think I've done most of the bigger races is like the 100-mile races, because single track 100 miles is a lot of racing. Gravel 100 miles isn't that big, but on single track, single speed, I think 100 is up there with. That's a lot of riding.
So what do you have in mind as how you might get into Leadville? Do you have anything sorted?
Not yet. I've got to figure out that plan, and I might attend some races and hope for the lucky draws of the coins.
Okay.
Well, Rad's a qualifier, right? Didn't we cover this with Justin Carey? The New Mexico.
Yeah, but that's a gravel event. Wouldn't
the Rattler?
The Rattler would be a good fit, right?
The Rattler is a good fit. Unfortunately, it's Texas Single Speeds down in Austin that same weekend.
Gotcha.
And
what is that?
Yeah, it's
what's the date on that again?
The same weekend as Rattler.
Yeah, whatever the Rattler weekend is.
I think it's October 5th or October something.
Is it October 5th? That's big. That's Ray Porter weekend, and it's Rat weekend.
Yeah, then I don't think it's that.
No, I think it's later than that.
Might be November.
I think it's November, but I don't know. I don't know which weekend.
The Austin Rattler is a great race.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I bet it's Spin Street Palooza weekend is what it is. I bet.
I can't make it to that either.
Understood.
My calendar's so foobarred this year.
Yeah, the Austin Rattler, I've done that race. Single speed, I was probably geared a little bit too tough for that.
You? Nah.
I've geared down a little bit.
Wait, what? Yeah, what gear did you run for?
I was running 34.19.
There's still time to make Schwalmingen, or was that this past weekend?
No, that's this coming weekend.
That's what.
I think.
Run up to Wisconsin real quick. Schwalmingen will get you in there.
Yeah, run all the way up there to ride 40 miles.
Hey, Leadville qualifier.
Yeah.
But-
It should be, right?
But yeah, the Austin Rattler is a tough race,
Yeah,
but it's not Dragon Slayer.
yeah,
Anybody that's ever said they've done a tough race and they're not naming Dragon Slayer has not done Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
When was the last time you did Dragon Slayer?
Last year,
You did it last. And how many people show up for that one?
not a lot. It's not a big field because I think once most
It's
people have done
it's intimidating.
Once most people have done it once, they're like, "Fuck this trail. This is
Yeah.
the worst,
Yeah.
rockiest bullshit we've ever
Yeah.
seen." And that's the allure to people like me and some of the people that show up there is you finish something that not a lot of people will say that they've finished. Not because
Yeah.
it's fun, but because it's hard.
yeah.
And I think that's the allure of the Dragon Slayer.
What was that?
I have no clue.
We have cars going by right here in our
No, that was weird. I don't know what it was. It sounded like
Maybe
a
a
demon.
ghost.
I don't know what that was. Sorry, I had to jack with my pool. My pool's low, and so the pump was. And I was trying to text Paula and tell her to turn the pool off.
Maybe that was an air purge or something.
No, I turned it off.
Oh, okay,
So,
gotcha.
so you're in a 34.19, which is still to me that's a tall gear. I mean, I run with 32.20 most of the. Well, that's what stays on my bike. So.
Yeah, I'm not very spinny.
Yeah.
And on Rowlett, Harry Moss, Irwin, all of those trails, I would have been spinning out and losing a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I'll rather struggle on some of the climbs out at IDB. And IDB, I did all of it.
Yeah.
We only did A, B, and C.
Yeah.
The back parts were still closed.
Mm.
Johnson Branch, I walked a couple of hills.
Yeah.
If you're on single speed, there's no shame in walking.
No.
It conserves so much energy rather than trying to snap your handlebars
Yeah.
from torquing.
What is that?
It's like we're next to the highway.
I have no clue what that noise is. So weird.
I may have to take the cans off again and see if I can get some sense of direction or something like that.
I mean, first we have the freaking prehistoric walking bug over here, and now there's some demon in our microphone.
Just whooshing by.
Just real quick, because you touched on this before, and I'm sure somebody's asking this. So you had mentioned last year's Judgment Day, you were doing geared because of knee rehab or something like that. What'd you run into?
I had I tore my meniscus on holiday at the beach.
That means vacation for all you Americans.
Yeah.
Holiday.
I think most of us know what that is. I guess unless you're from Louisiana or Mississippi, maybe.
And I had to have that repaired. Well, the loose piece got out, so I was out for a little bit, but got back on the bike real quick. I was fortunate that everything worked out, and I couldn't. Judgment Day is one of those that I have to get to it, just to see the people. I just love seeing. There's people that you see at all the local races. You usually see the same people every time, and it's just a great community of local racing.
Were you seeing the same people from trail to trail that you were kind of chasing when you get to it, or was it just it all scattered out?
If you're doing the 100, you usually see, and you're at the front of the pack, you usually see the same 70-mile people trailing you, and they'll either pass you or you'll pass them. So you'll see the same people at maybe 3-4 trails leapfrogging, which is great. And it's consistent over the years. You'll see the same people just leapfrogging.
Again, for people that aren't familiar with it, do we have any idea how many people actually showed up to do Judgment Day this year?
They haven't put out the numbers yet. I think it was a bumper year because of the weather. Number one, because it's so late in the year, it wasn't 110 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, from some of the videos that I've seen, people trying to get into IDB later in the day, it was a lot of people. it's usually around 500 people that show up
Wow.
for Judgment Day. So they'll put out the numbers probably later this week, how many people entered, how many people finished each section or each
Yeah.
category. And that's always interesting to see the atrophy over the years. And there's a lot of people finish. A lot of people make it a mission to just get that top cap, even if they finish at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's a very long day.
Yeah.
But if you spread it out, you can do it.
Yeah.
And
This is one event that has never even had just any draw to me. Like, I don't know. I don't like driving to a trail, period, to ride. I mean, like, it's almost a mental thing for me. But then you drive to 10 different trails, that just kills it for me. I don't know. There's something I can't wrap my head around. And
I think it's I know that the driving, most of the people that really are not Judgment Day fans.
It's a pool.
No, the pool's off. Oh, I know what it is. Sorry. Yeah, I'm adding water to the pool, and one of the floats is going by, and the water's spraying it.
It's
Shit.
it's a
Sorry.
jet.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, the atmosphere of the trailheads and the people on the trail, and going by and motivating people that you see are struggling later in the day.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people get hot and they go up and they blow themselves up.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it for me. And yeah, I think the whole Judgment Day is basically a membership drive
Yeah.
for Dorba as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a free entry if you're a member.
Yeah.
which I
Well,
think
it's the only way you can enter. You have to be a member.
You have to be
Yeah.
a member, and then you get in for free.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to get people to actually contribute that little bit
Yeah.
to the great trails we have in the DFW area that are maintained.
And it highlights the trails.
Yeah.
Because it compels people, like you said in the beginning, it compels people to go ride trails that they haven't ridden before.
That's correct.
Which, you may go ride X trail and go, oh, I need to ride this trail more often, or whatever. So
And
I
they'll
get
have
it.
trails in there that are in there every year because
Yeah.
they're staples.
Sure.
They'll keep it to the north, they'll keep it to the south.
Yeah.
But every couple of years, you're at least going to get to some of those trails
Yeah.
that you only get to on Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And it's great, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment for an almost real-time Judgment Day Q&A or asking for advice from a single speeder?
Yeah.
All right. I'll let y'all figure out who this might be. Hi, Kevin. I rode the Fargo single speed for Judgment Day 100.
Dan Wynn.
Respect to him for finishing it on that bike.
It was overall quite comfortable, but I could use a higher fork stack to raise the stem some.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, I kept rubbing my shoes on the front tire. I'm on 175 millimeter cranks. Maybe have to swap out to 170 or adjust the fork rake. Any thoughts or advice? Why he's asking me that? Dan, I'm the wrong
I'd have to look at
person
his-
to ask advice. Fargo size medium with 29 by 2.4 Aspen tires.
Does he have clown shoes?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, what-
and he doesn't have big feet.
What size feet do you have, Dan?
And he's running clipless.
So,
I'm
and
assuming.
where are your cleats positioned?
That's a
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the solution is to go shorter cranks first thing. That's an expensive
yeah.
and it's not like it's 5 mils. If it's rubbing, it's probably rubbing a little bit more than
Yeah.
5 mil. I think the cleat position, I'd say bring that Fargo over to TNSS. Let
Yeah.
Brad have a look at it. But I don't think you can do much about the rake.
Do we know what fork he does? Does he have the fire starter fork? Do we
I
know?
saw a picture of his bike on Facebook, but I don't remember seeing.
Short answer, Dan. We don't have enough information to work with at the moment. I don't. Yeah, but yeah, I was leaning the same way. That's why I threw it out to the circle here. I don't think shorter cranks A play here.
No, it must have been in the Judgment Day post or something. I saw.
I mean, it has to be. It almost has to be fork related.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, here's a picture of it.
Because you've ridden your Fargo on plenty of single track. You've never had any overlap issues, right?
And he's got 2.6 on the front.
Yeah, I don't have.
No, that's one.
But you do have a bigger frame than a medium as well.
Yeah,
You have a large.
I'm running a large, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. Wait, he's got a suspension fork on there.
Okay.
Looks like a Fox.
So that my guess is the geometry of the fork is less than ideal for the Fargo.
It's hard to tell because it's laying down on the ground.
Yeah,
Right.
But if you look at that, if his crank is on the front, he's got a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
His pedal's almost touching the wheel there.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's not something. So this is an older Fargo, so it's older geometry. I think he probably has a newer gen fork on an older geometry frame. So he's running, or maybe I have it backwards. Yeah. No. So he's running a steep fork on a steep
steer tube.
Yeah, he needs a more raked out fork. He needs like is it a 55 offset fork? So,
yeah, especially if he's using it on the trails, we have some tight twists and turns. On the gravel, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Even if you occasionally have a little bit of rub, that's fine.
Right.
But on the trails, especially the tight and twisty,
the tight twisty trails,
you're going to run
that's
into
where you're
some
going to get
issues,
the overlap.
Huh.
And I used to run into that when I had my. Oh shit! I can never remember which bike it was. It was the Salsa steel bike, not quite a gravel bike. It was like a
Journeyman?
Masamanos?
no, damn.
What's it called? Mamacita?
It was one that got wiped out by the car. Anyway, that one was notorious for having toe overlap. Truman had one when he had his custom bike built that he was going to do his cross country tour.
Colossal?
No, it wasn't the Colossal. Yeah, I'll remember it someday, and I'll put it in the show notes that maybe don't show up on other platforms. I think our show notes show up on Spotify, but I got feedback over the weekend that notes don't show up on everything. But anyway, so Dan, we're all in somewhat agreement that it's likely the issue is the fork, which is probably the last thing you wanted to hear at this point.
You could probably get one of those headsets that has the adjustable.
I bet.
I think
It's possible.
You can you can adjust the geometry with the headset, right? Slightly.
Yeah, there's one that you can set, so that might help a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how all that works, but I do know they make headsets that you can basically offset your fork.
It's almost like an EBB, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about bikes, let's talk about this bike here. But I want to get to
well, actually, turn the bike around the correct way, Justin. Come on,
laces out.
Yeah, I was gonna give him shit about it too.
Take your headset off.
Yeah. It's always drivetrain out,
Especially when it's single speed.
You got a cord right there. There we go. Ooh, I like those shoes. I'm going to ask you about those shoes too.
That is such a sick bike.
Is that better, Dan Marino, with the laces out?
Laces out.
Laces out.
Yeah.
Okay. First off, let's start with the big picture. Year, make, model.
This is probably a 21 Chumba Stella with the pink Cerakote.
Titanium.
Titanium. That's the important part.
Yeah.
And Chumba painted it for you?
Chumba Cerakoted it for me. I had them Cerakote the Whiskey number 9 fork as well.
So that's the Whiskey 9 fork?
Yep. And then the Crank Brother wheels. These are the iodine 2s.
And those cranks.
Brook saddle.
Sexiest cranks on the market.
They are expensive.
What cranks are those?
The E-Wings, the Cane Creek E-Wings.
Oh.
They are amazing.
They're fucking so sexy.
I used to run the profile cranks, which are stiff.
Yeah.
And
Are those 75s or 80s?
75s.
They are 75s?
yeah.
Yeah, those don't even come in 80s.
Well,
180s.
they just, for whatever reason, it looks long from here.
That's what she said.
I know. That's
Yeah, it looks long because
Teed up.
it goes past the pedal a little bit to make that little thing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are not stiffer than my profiles were, but they are light.
Yeah.
It's just some bling for the bike. If you can afford E-Wings,
Yeah.
get them. If you see them second hand somewhere and you can get them, get them. They're amazing.
Velo had a set. One of their wrenches had bought a set and then barely ran them, and they were sitting on the shelf, and they were for sale for $550. And I struggled. I wanted them so bad, and then I made the mistake of telling somebody about them. and they were
Next time you saw them, they were on their
gone.
bike.
no, next
They
time
were
I
on
saw
their
them, they were
bike.
on his bike. Yeah,
Yeah, and the rainbow.
What do they go for new?
like 1,100.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh, so
stupid.
550 is a steal.
It's
Yeah, oh, yeah.
literally half price.
And the nice thing is you can rainbow them with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah,
My rainbow's rubbed off most of the way. It's time for me to refresh that, but just electro-shocking them, you can...
electrolysis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What brakes you're running?
I've got XDRs on this bike, just because when I built it, I spent some extra cash on the XDRs. The XDRs I would not recommend if you do a lot of downhill riding. It's more a suggestion of going a little bit slower. They're not as powerful as the XDs.
yeah.
Now you extolled the virtues of your Brooks. Which model Brooks are you rolling?
The B17, this is the normal. I usually run the special, which has the copper rivets.
Yeah.
When I got this one, it was on sale somewhere second hand, not broken in yet. And I do prefer the copper rivets because once the leather gets broken in and it starts sagging at the back, you can hammer those copper rivets flat. Where with these rivets you can't, and they start
Pulling through,
starts
basically.
pulling through.
they start
Elongating.
they start sitting up a little bit. You start seeing the edges. So with the special,
Yeah.
you can then hammer those rivets down into the leather again.
Yeah.
To make sure you don't have any hot spots.
Yeah.
And you said you're an Icon guy, right?
Yeah, I like them. I haven't tried the Recons, but these work for me, and I mean they're light enough and they're tough enough that I don't get many cuts, or I haven't had any sidewall
And
cuts.
Which size are you running?
The 2.35s,
Front and rear?
yeah,
Okay.
both the same. These rims make it look a bit bigger. They give you that little bit of extra volume because the rims are a little bit wider.
Yeah.
It's the Crank Brothers Enduro rims, actually. And, I mean, they're cheap, they're strong,
I
and
think
they're
they're like
pretty
a
light.
28 internal or something like that.
I think it's around there, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And then, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna like take this into your other bike, which is built
Which
very
is-
similar.
That's correct. The other bike is also a Chambastella. I found that one secondhand because I can't afford their new frames anymore with their new pricing, and they don't make the Stella anymore.
Yeah.
I found one secondhand that was in great condition. I painted that same color scheme, just a little bit darker, also pink. Not the same cranks. I've got XT cranks on that one, and that one is geared with XT 11 speed, 11 by 1. Same fork,
Same
wheels, same saddle, just the B17. This one has the pole seat post. The other one has a carbon fiber. I think it's a whiskey as well.
Yeah.
Handlebars. The other one is the same handlebars, just with a 20 millimeter raise in it
Yeah.
for a little bit more comfort.
And which bars are those?
These are, I think they're whiskey. No, these are the nuke proofs.
Nick proof.
nuke-proof carbon bars, and the other one's got bar ends on it.
So the
little
one,
stubby.
yeah, I did notice that you had bar ends on there. But
Yeah.
the other thing that you haven't even mentioned is the main reason I want to talk about all of this: pedals. This bike, you're running clipless
Yes.
XTs.
XDRs on this
XDRs.
one.
And then I noticed from your bikepacking trip, I saw
Yes.
pictures, and you were running flat pedals.
Yes, I've switched over to the flats on my bikepacking for the longer trips.
Yeah.
When I do the rambles and stuff like that, I'll still be on the clipless.
Yeah.
But for the longer, especially when you're getting into the amount of climbing that I was doing and that I usually do on my bigger trips, I won't go back to SPDs.
Yeah.
Flat pedals is the way to go. For
Yeah.
me, I do a lot of walking when the bike is heavy and it's a long day. And for me, the comfort level was way better. Camping, way better. It's just a better day all over. And I didn't feel any negatives.
Right.
If there was a little bit loss of power, because I wasn't even running cycling specific flat shoes.
Yeah.
I was just running trail runners,
Yeah.
my Solomons, and it was perfect. Comfortable all day, no issues.
What is your flat pedal of choice currently?
The
They're
ones,
pink.
yeah, I got the race face Chesters. I had a red set. I decided to get a new set of pink ones. Luckily, they came in pink. They're plastic.
Yeah.
But they're strong. They have good pins on them.
Yeah.
They have a nice wide base.
Yeah.
And they're cheap.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the aluminum or composite pedals that are flatter and better. And I mean, those go, the pricing is just outrageous on those.
Well, I have a pair of pedaling innovations that I would love for you to try out whenever you want to, if you want to try
Yeah.
a different pedal.
Yeah, especially on the bikepacking rig.
Yeah.
The wider pedal does give you more comfort.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy on. I mean, some of these climbs are fucking 8 miles long,
Yeah.
and it's a long day in the saddle. And then every now and again,
Was
when
that a positive fucking or a negative fucking?
very negative. On the upside, some of those downhills were 8 miles long.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but so that's what I mean, yes, I wanted to talk about Judgment Day, but I really want to get into your trip,
Yeah.
especially while it's
Well, that's
still
what-
fresh on his brain.
That's why I said we can use up a lot of SD card
Yeah.
on this one.
So give us the overall real quick, like start location, mileage, climbing, how many days,
Yeah.
and then I've got 100 questions for you, and I'm sure Kevin has at least 4.
Yeah.
Two.
So I had to go up to the Whitefish area for work anyway,
Yeah,
and I saw it as a great opportunity. What I wanted, I try and do a big bikepacking trip, a solo backcountry, unsupported
Yeah.
trip every year.
and how did that get started?
That got started in South Africa with DGT,
Yeah.
Die Groot Trap, which translates to the big pedal.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of buddies down there that got me into bikepacking and single speeding.
Yeah,
They've all been out for a couple of years, getting married, having kids, so they're getting
adulting.
Yeah.
They're getting. I was past that stage
yeah,
into already having had my kids
yeah,
when they started this. I joined them on a big trip in South Africa. I was the least prepared for that trip out of almost everybody.
yeah.
I struggled a lot, but we got it done.
Physically or just equipment? Or-
Physically, they had way more time to train for it
Yeah.
than I did at that time. I had a lot of life going on.
Yeah,
They were all single and riding,
Yeah.
and it was great. But that was my introduction to bikepacking. It was about a 500 mile bikepacking trip. I wouldn't say it's unsupported. It was gravel roads mostly in South Africa and the Karoo.
yeah,
Looking at some of the days. They were big days, 70, 80-mile days.
Yeah.
Some 50-mile days. But that's what got me hooked onto when I came to the States. I try and do a big trip every year. And I try and look for loops that I can fly into.
Yeah.
And then do a loop. And then pack my bike back in the box.
So what was your first solo trip?
My first solo trip was the Kokopelli.
Mm-hmm.
I did that in 5 days.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I'll obviously do it a lot quicker now.
Yeah. I'd love to do that.
It's a great ride.
Yeah.
It's technical.
Yeah.
So that's why it takes a bit longer.
Yeah.
But that's not a gravel ride at all.
No.
That is a technical, rocky bikepacking trip. And then I've done a couple other in Idaho, Oregon, and I wanted to do. There's a loop close to Spokane, up in Washington, that I had my eye on for this year because I felt I missed last year because of my knee.
Yeah.
And I needed to get out into the woods and just disappear for a week.
Yeah.
I had my eye on that. Started planning that out. And then that's when I heard I had to go up to the Glacier Airport for business.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, if the flight's paid for and 2 nights of hotel, I might as well take everything and take a week up there. And what's nice about when I started looking into it, I was very excited because it's on some of the Tour Divide routes.
Yeah.
So I saw some of the things that I've always heard about, Pole Bridge Mercantile, Whitefish, the Whitefish Bike Retreat, things that you always see on your feed, and it's like this other world of these people that are living this adventure.
Right. And you get to go dip your toe in.
I'm like, I'm going to go. I love seeing things for myself.
Yeah.
With my own eyes and just being there and just taking it in.
Yeah. And
then afterwards, when you see it again, we've talked about this previously, you see it on a photo or something and you're like, you get all those memories back and you just live it again. You're like, oh yeah, I know what it looked like there. So yeah, the overall of this trip was getting into Whitefish. It's a combination of 3 different routes that I put together from bikepacking.com, which is where I get most of my inspiration from.
Yeah. Great resource.
There's really, really amazing trails or loops or trips out there that the guys put a lot of work into. And I strung together 3 of those to put together this trip, which turned out I did about 300 miles, about 22,000 feet of climbing over 6 days. You'd asked me previously how many calories I pack. We'll get back to that. I ended up actually adding it up when I was packing.
Yeah.
So I did those calculations finally.
I was hoping that would spur that.
After 8 years of packing exactly the same stuff, I finally managed to check how much, and it's not as much as I thought.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I asked the question. So we had lunch a couple of weeks ago, and I started asking him what he was going to do for nutrition, because I'm always curious how people fuel, what your resupply looks like, what your cooking situation is, and all this. And Garrett's very non-traditional in the way that he handles his nutrition, and in the fact that he was planning on 6 days on this ride, and you packed. Feasibly, you could have lived with everything you packed. You didn't have to hit any resupplies. Yeah, but you still got like candy bars and shit from gas stations, right?
No.
You didn't get any fuel from anywhere else.
I got 1 packet of chips in Eureka. Just
chips or fries?
Chips.
Okay, all right, just
chips. Yeah,
and a Pepsi.
Packet and a Coke.
A Coke.
Coke.
No Pepsi. Coke.
And I got 1 bear claw from Pole Bridge Mercantile.
Oh, okay. That's a have to do.
Yeah. So that was literally the only resupply that I had over the 6 days.
So you lived off of what you had on your bike.
The rest of the time, I ate what I had on the bike. Even though I do go through towns sometimes, if it's a really, really tough trip where I'm doing 30, 40,000 feet of climbing
Yeah.
and 500 miles, I'll maybe get a hotel in the middle because
Yeah.
I'm just like, fuck this. I
Yeah.
need to go and cry somewhere on my own in a shower.
In a shower.
While sucking my thumb. But because those trips are hard.
Yeah.
So you call it a thumb. Huh?
Yeah. I still have all my ribs, so yeah. But the thing is, on this trip, it was relaxed enough that I didn't need to go to a restaurant and have a burger or whatever. It's a challenge for me to see if I can do it.
Yeah, it's not from a frugality standpoint. It's just a mission
that's
for
part
you.
of the adventure.
Yeah, for me, I want to take everything on the bike and basically just get water from wherever.
Which is mind-blowing for me. Like, I've been on trips where we've done this before, but your way of doing it is... I want to learn more, and that's why I kind of probed you that day.
And that's a big difference between the way that most people approach bikepacking. Most people approach it from, I can get whatever I can from this gas station, and then I can go to this town, and we can eat dinner there.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in a group, it's a very different dynamic.
Sure.
Because then you want to go out and have pizza, or stay in a town, close to a town where you can have pizza, or a burger or a steak or whatever, and there's a lot more chatting and whatever.
Yeah.
If you're solo, it's a lot more soul searching and just getting out and being on your own. Yeah. And just making sure that just proving to yourself that you can do this I think the main thing is getting to the realization that you can plan this trip out, you can make it happen, you can do the trip, and you can come back, and nobody helped you with it.
It's a bigger accomplishment than Judgment Day. It's literally.
It is. It's a big undergoing. Finding the right maps, finding paper maps that fit that area, especially if it's an area that's not as common to find maps for. Yeah.
All right.
Making sure you have the right maps on your Garmin.
Before we start going down all these rabbit holes,
there's so many.
I know. So we were on the nutrition.
Oh, we're getting there. That's where I want to get to nutrition.
Well, that's right. Let's stay there before we start going off into maps, and that's all I'm saying. Because so what the fuck were you eating?
Yeah, so I have it down to a T, and I've been doing the same thing for 5 years. It's basically, if you don't mind eating the same fucking thing all day and then something different for dinner, then you're good. It's basically a mix of baby porridge and protein powder, and I add some sugar to it, which I put in Ziplocs.
What is baby porridge?
It's like a Nestum, honey Nestum. It's like a...
Man, you're still talking Greek to me.
Yeah, it's like a wheat porridge that you add milk to for babies, and you feed them. It's like...
Yeah, it's like cream of wheat or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like and so it's something that you can mix water into it. I have it for breakfast. I have a big serving of that for breakfast, and it's in a Ziploc, measured out. I add water to it till the Ziploc's full. I shake it up, and it turns into like a protein shake almost.
Okay.
Except the baby porridge adds a bit more food flavor to it than just the nasty protein powder flavor.
But prior to Brad making you break it down, you weren't up to speed on the calories involved.
I did not know.
You were just going with this is what gets me through.
I just knew that's how much I need.
So let's run through the whole day. You start with...
Yeah, so I'll do that as soon as I get up and get everything, as soon as I get out of the tent and start my day by basically packing up my shit. First thing, I'll mix that up so it can sit for a little bit, so it's well mixed up. I'll down that because it's easy to get in. It's easy to get full real quick from that. That's a quart, it ends up being about a quart Ziploc of mix when you're done with it. I then use my previous night's Mountain House bag to do a packet of ramen, because ramen is ridiculously calorie dense.
And sodium dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of that on trips like this. So that'll be my breakfast, packet of ramen, and
when you say
mix.
a packet of ramen, is that just
It's
plain
just
bland ramen,
yeah,
or is it
like
flavored, or
just the regular plain beef?
so it is the beef
packets, yeah.
bouillon flavored ramen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you crush those.
I crush those up before I go, make a little hole in the bag, tape it back up, get them down as fine as I can, so they don't take up much space. I'll have a small snack bag of that mix that I make for a morning snack.
So
And
that's 2 bags of that so far.
I have one.
The
yes,
mix.
and-
Are we back to baby porridge or
Yeah.
something? Okay.
No, the same mix.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Exactly the
so
same
it's one
stuff.
for breakfast, one for
It's a big one for
snack.
breakfast.
Okay.
A small one
For a mid-morning snack.
mid-morning snack. A medium one for lunch, and a small one for afternoon snack. I have a Snickers bar for breakfast, for the breakfast run. I usually have a different kind of bar for the afternoon, which is an RX bar or
Yeah.
whatever, a Cliff bar, or that kind of bar.
Yeah.
For the afternoon, I'll usually change that up every year, just trying new flavors. I
Yeah.
tried the RX bars this year; they were gross.
Yeah.
They taste very even though they only have like 3 or 4 ingredients, they still taste somehow like chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of those either.
I've had others that were better.
Yeah. I like the Pro bars. They're expensive, but I
haven't
love Pro
tried them
bars.
yet.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, I'll have the medium bag of the mix, and I have a packet of Cheetos. Just a small packet of Cheetos that's crushed up.
Yeah.
Once again taped up. So all my food for the whole day fits into a quart freezer Ziploc bag.
Yeah, you also have the Mountain House for the dinner.
That is the dinner.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that doesn't fit into that bag.
Yeah.
So 6 days of food would be 6 quart bags.
So you
Yeah.
have all of those quart bags already
Yes.
portioned and segmented.
Everything marked day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And then the Mountain House, they used to do a Pro Pack, which was vacuum sealed. As you get it, it was already vacuum sealed, so they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I make a little hole above the zip line,
Yeah.
try and get as much of the air out as I can,
Yeah.
tape it back up, and then I'll have, like this trip, I had 5 of those different ones spread
And
out.
is it safe to assume that you're consuming everything that's in day one
Yes, on day 1.
on day one? You don't
I
have
make
any rollover food?
I make a point of finishing everything,
Yeah.
and if you break it up into the half-day sections,
Yeah.
you know you have to finish this.
Yeah.
And usually if I'm feeling tired or something, I'll realize, oh, my snack bag
Yeah.
is still in my
Yeah.
tank bag.
Yeah.
That's why I'm feeling a little bit like shit, and
Yeah.
I'll get that down, and then I'll feel better.
Yeah.
So
And then no nutrition powder or anything. You're running straight water in your bottles, right?
straight water, even on Judgment Day.
Yeah.
I only run water in my bottles.
Yeah.
I don't have anything in my bottles other than water. I'll
Yeah.
rather do gels,
Yeah.
and then the salt capsules.
Yeah.
But that's it.
And cocaine.
then not as much.
Not as much these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting pricey again.
It is. It is. So
That turns out to be only 2,670 calories a day.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was curious.
And you're doing 50-ish mile days?
This trip was a bit shorter. It was about 50 average.
Yeah.
And how many hours on the bike each day, roughly?
This trip only about 6.
Yeah.
My previous trips.
Actually, 2,600 is not a bad number.
Yeah.
That's not a bad number.
No,
Did you
it works
feel
out good? I felt good.
Yeah.
I was a little hungry on this trip.
Yeah.
I think just because of the altitude or something. But
What was the
usually
terrain like? Was it mostly
mostly gravel.
gravel, double track?
Some up in Canada.
Yeah.
There was some double track in the very remote places.
Yeah.
In Glacier Park, there was some double track as well.
Because I was doing a lot of dot watching, but it's hard to decipher what's going on.
There was a little bit of single track up in Canada as well that was unexpected.
Yeah, I saw that.
After being there, it's very clear on the map that it is the road goes down to single track,
Yeah.
but never being up there, and there's something called the wall, which is very well marked on the map.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
It is basically carrying your bike up a cliff. Coming down, I went both ways on it.
Yeah.
Coming down, I was like, what the fuck is this? It was on day 2 after
Yeah.
an 8-mile climb.
Yeah.
Coming down on the other side, and then you get to a portion next to the Wigwam Creek, and it's basically a maybe 150 foot, like just down, straight down, trying to carry your bike down it.
It's not intended to be a bike route, though, right? Is that
No,
that's not on the
that's-
divide?
That's on a section called, it's on an alternate, the Flathead alternate is actually, that's part of that.
Oh, really?
So it's not on the official divide route.
Right.
That section, that loop is an alternate on the divide maps as well. So it's interesting. And I can imagine coming back up it, I'm not frail by any means.
No.
I was struggling to get my bike up
Garrett
that.
is not frail.
But you're still
I was
also thinking you're very remote
Yes.
and you're by yourself.
I was, it's so steep.
Yeah.
It's like picking your bike up, putting it 6 inches forward, grabbing both the brakes,
Yeah.
trying to do that. I can imagine how many people have unpacked their bikes,
Yeah.
carried their bags up, and done multiple trips to
Yeah.
get their bikes to the top.
Yeah. Wow.
That is how bad it was. And coming down it, I then replanned my coming back a little bit so that I had that at the end of the day, rather than starting my day with that portion.
Yeah.
Because that would have set you up for a very long day starting with that.
Yeah, just burning matches straight
Yeah.
out of the gate. Yeah. Damn. So was that safe to say that was probably the hardest day? Was that when the 2 times you dealt with that section?
Yeah, I'd say it was a big portion of it because the first time that I did it was right after the big climb, which is, I think it's about 3,500 feet of climbing.
Jesus.
On one climb.
Yeah.
And then coming down it. But most of it was rideable.
Yeah.
There's very short pieces that I had to push that were
Other than
too
this
steep.
section that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
about on the long climb.
Yeah.
Most of it is rideable in the granny.
Yeah.
Just on the big one at the back.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't help me to have any bigger gearing on
Yeah.
the back, because then I would be going slower than I would walk on.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd walk faster.
And on a trip that long, you need to stretch out your legs.
100%, yeah.
Rather than just sit and spin.
Yeah.
It helps just relaxing all the other muscles a bit as well. But yeah, it was from Whitefish, went around the lake, and then back roads up little bits and pieces on the 93, which is very heavy traffic.
Yeah.
But it does have a decent shoulder. But the route that I followed had a lot of back roads, so it was connecting on the 93 little pieces, maybe 2-3 miles here and there.
Yeah.
Back roads up to Eureka.
And you're running a blinky, and
Yeah.
did you bring a headlight or no?
No, I only take a headlamp
Yeah.
for my camping.
For camping.
Yeah.
I don't plan to ride at night.
Yeah.
I've had to ride at night when you're not making especially when you have the bigger days, when you have 90 miles to go.
Uh-huh.
Or you're looking for a campsite in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere and you're not finding something that,
Yeah.
or you got to go find water at night or
Yeah.
whatever. My headlamp is sufficient for that. I don't take
Okay.
a separate light that's on my bike permanently.
And what was your camp setup, by the way?
I like tent camping.
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to spread out my stuff next to me
Mm-hmm.
and have it lay there in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
When I turn around, I know where this is, where that is.
Sure.
I've got the MSR Hubba Hubba NX, the one-person tent.
Mm-hmm.
That, and then I've got the.
It's a pole system, yes.
Yes.
It has 2 poles,
It's got one pole.
but it's
It has a little cross member in the top, but
Yeah.
it's still attached to the single pole.
Yeah.
And then it splits at the end.
yeah,
Very light tent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of MSR.
yeah,
Their products are amazing.
Yeah.
I've had one of those tents fail,
mm-hmm.
and they just sent me a replacement.
Yeah.
The inner lining was getting gummy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent me a replacement. And I mean, I can't say enough about
Yeah,
how
they're-
great.
they're top notch.
I've got a side entry. I think
Mhm.
that's important as well to me.
Yeah.
I like to be able to get in the side,
Yeah.
not crawl in from the end.
yes.
I hate the end entry.
I borrowed Reds for
Yeah.
Spinistry Palooza, and it was a end entry or whatever. And after 60, 70 miles on the bike, you go to get in that thing, and you're like,
Yeah, and then I have Neo Air X Lite, I think is the pad that I'm on.
pillow, no pillow.
I take a little like a travel neck pillow, inflatable one that you use for the plane,
Yeah.
because I can set it in my neck, and doesn't matter if I roll around a bit, it stays in place. It doesn't slip off the back.
Yeah.
I've tried using my puffy as a pillow, or
It just compresses, yeah.
Yeah, and or just with everything being so slippery, the sleeping bag's slippery. Everything
Yeah.
that's lightweight is glides.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ends up in the top of the tent usually.
yeah.
So I've found that it takes up no space and it stays in place.
How many hours of sleep do you typically get a night?
I usually get quite a lot. I try and be in the tent by the time that it's dark. I'll get up a couple of times, usually to pee, but because I'm drinking so much water on these trips,
Yeah.
and which is good because then I get to see the stars as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't stay up late enough
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see the stars come out really in full force.
Yeah.
And then usually by the time I get out, it is just a light show
Yeah.
of you're sleepy, but you look up and it's just amazing.
Amazing.
There, yeah.
So,
So I'll usually be in bed by 9, and I'll sleep till 6 or 7. So I get a good 9, almost 10 hours of sleep sometimes.
yeah, I like sleep.
I've tried getting up early to get ready to get going, and I've found it's better for me to be on the bike by 8:30 than to try and get on the bike by 7:30.
Yeah.
It's way more relaxing.
Yeah.
I'll rather ride later into the day
Mm-hmm.
than to try and force myself to get up and not be ready. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing about going solo is it is 100% your own pace.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking you, or you're not holding anyone back.
Right,
You're not
yeah.
Right.
rushing anybody else.
Yeah.
If you want to sit down and wait somewhere for half an hour,
Yeah.
you can. If you want to just ride and hurt but ride to get the day over,
Yeah.
you can do that too.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I do the big trips on my own.
Did you see any bears?
Unfortunately, I did not.
Yeah.
While you're there, you're hoping you don't see them.
Right.
When you're done, you wish you would
You
have.
wish you would have seen
at
one.
least
Yeah.
seen one off in the distance. There is so much bear shit
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
So carrying all that food with you for the whole time, are you doing the bear
Yes.
stow my food?
so yeah, you hang your. So I put all my food in my seat bag,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's the Panda. I've got a Panda Designs cradle, which just holds their dry bag.
Yeah.
So I can just pull the dry bag out and hang that in a tree.
So you brought cordage to hang it? Yeah.
Yeah, I usually have cordage with me.
Yeah.
And a collapsible bucket.
Yeah.
One of those that fold up really, really small, just in case I need to get water from someplace that's
How
too
big,
far down.
How big does it get?
It gets about a, what's that, 3 gallon,
Oh, really?
2 gallon.
I need a link to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
I get the concept, but I'm not familiar with the.
Yeah.
It's like Cedar Summit. They call it a collapsible bucket, but it's basically a shopping bag.
Yeah.
But
That's
it
water.
works very well.
Yeah.
So it's Cedar Summit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll send you a link on it.
Yeah.
Are all your bags Panda Designs, Rogue Panda?
Yeah, except my fork bags and my cradle in the front are salsa.
Yeah.
I've got
Okay.
the salsa anything cradles on the forks.
You know, Salsa doesn't make bags anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
No, I have a brand new salsa bag on my tributary, but
That doesn't mean that they still make them. That's what I'm telling you.
They sell them, but they don't make them themselves. Is
No.
that what you mean?
They're done. Like once all the ones that are out there right now are sold, there's not going to be any more salsa bags.
Interesting.
yeah, because anything cradle on the handlebar is amazing.
That's the word around the campfire.
So that's a brand new word around the campfire. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Breaking news.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I don't know. I'm not. I'm just.
maybe it was a fever dream. I don't know. Maybe I'm making shit up. I'm fairly certain that that's what I read.
Okay. No. Garrett is the topic of discussion
Yeah,
today,
you're right.
not salsa. So that's perfectly fine.
I just
Yeah, so if I'm in an established campground and they have bear boxes, I'll just put my food in there. I was in one campground where they had that, so I didn't have to mess with hanging anything up anywhere.
Right.
I could just put that in there. They're in Glacier Park.
So how close to the bear box do you set up camp?
They had that one specific campsite had campsites, established campsites. There were 7 sites up there. So that was probably about maybe 40, like 30 meters. What's that? Like 90 feet from the bear box.
30 yards.
So they have it. They have it at a decent
Okay.
pace.
When
I'd do a bit further than that when I'm hanging it up in the woods.
do you identify ahead of time which camp spots you're going to utilize, or do you
I
just
try. I try if there's a. I try and plan where I'm going to camp on the maps and on the GPS and my ride plan for the trip. When you get there, and mostly it won't be something where I have to pay in advance or book a reservation. I try and do backcountry as much as I can, where I'm camping where there's no established sites. However, this trip I only backcountry camped twice out of the 5 nights. In Glacier Park, obviously I was in an established campsite, a primitive site.
yeah.
And even being Labor Day weekend, there was not a single other person in that campsite.
That's
because
Not in the primitive. but-
it's still nuts though?
if I went down 20 miles more down to Apgar, there's 170 campsites, and I bet that was
They were full.
Yeah. So I decided to stay. I wanted to go 2 more miles, but that campsite was closed. It wasn't operational.
Yeah.
So I stayed at the one that I was at, and I was surprised that not a single other person was in that. It only had 7 sites,
Yeah.
but it was right on a creek.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw some of the photos. I was literally on the bank of the creek with my tent, and just paradise.
Yeah, it looked
Swimming in
freaking
the creek,
amazing.
And
How cold was that water?
it was cold, but not freezing.
Yeah.
I expected it to be a little bit colder.
Yeah.
But it was good. Just sitting in the water with your legs in there, just ice bathing.
Good. Yeah.
It was good.
Do you use MSR for your filtration too?
I never used to. I used to use the Sawyer regular. Although the flow on mine, I probably would have needed a new one because the flow on mine is slow, even with backwashing it. Brad got me onto the MSR Guardian, and I won't go back. It's massive. I mean, it's fucking heavy. It's like a pound, and it takes up a whole one of your
It takes up a
bags.
bag by itself,
There
right?
is a
does.
trade-off, and that's what I was
There
explaining
is.
to you.
But that trade-off is worth it over and over because the fucking
dude.
flow rate on that thing,
It's
you don't have
nonstop.
to get your... I mean, most of the times when I'm filtering, it's either early in the morning when I'm getting ready to leave, or it's late at night when I'm getting ready to eat dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
And usually the time of year that I do it, it's cold at those times. And with any other filter device method, you have to get your hands wet
Yeah.
because you're filling up little fucking bags through the smallest hole in the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
or you're messing with trying to get shit,
Yeah.
whatever done.
Yeah.
Just, you can stand up,
Yeah.
throw it in the water like a fucking fishing line,
Yeah,
and
and
you
then
just, and it is...
And it screws onto your bottle.
Yeah, and
It's-
I use the big Nalgene bottles anyway, so it worked for me. It worked perfectly. It was on sale at REI, so
Yeah.
I was gonna borrow Brad's, but when I saw it was on sale at REI
yeah.
for like 25% off,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
They're not cheap. But,
And I looked at the Mini Works when I was there. I asked them if they had a Mini Works
yeah.
because I thought the Mini Works was quite a lot smaller from the pictures that I saw. And it's not. Once you put them next to each other, it's marginally bigger
Yeah.
on the Guardian, but it's much better flow rate, it's much better filtration because that's actually a purifier,
Yeah.
not just a filter.
Yeah.
Whereas the MiniWorks is just a filter,
Yeah.
not a purifier.
And the Guardian's self-flushing too. You're
Yes.
literally flushing it as you
Yeah.
filter.
And so, I mean, for the amount of water that I go
Episode 70 something brought to you by MSR.
Dude, they do
through,
great
I mean,
stuff.
I use their wind burner as well.
Yeah.
For my, which is similar to the jet boil,
Yeah.
except it's better
Yeah.
because it's quicker.
Yeah.
It works better in the wind.
How many canisters of fuel did you carry?
I usually carry 2 small ones.
So you told me you were going to land and go to REI.
I ended up going to REI in Kalispell. I actually managed to get my fuel canister at the airport.
Early.
They have a little kiosk at the airport that you can rent bear spray. You can
rent bear
It's
spray.
like a hole in the wall, but
I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, I didn't end up renting. I ended up buying bear spray at REI.
Yeah.
But if you're a family of 4,
Yeah.
renting it for $23
Yeah.
rather than paying $50 each,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to throw it away when you leave on the plane anyway.
Well, that makes sense.
So yeah, well, you know you're in bear country if you can rent bear
bear
spray
spray.
at the airport.
At the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
And I'm sorry, maybe you mentioned it and I missed it. How much of your route was U.S. and how much was Canada?
a very little portion of it was Canada.
You spent 2 nights in Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went up through Roosevelt. After Eureka, you go up through Roosevelt as the border post. And after that, like 2 miles down the road, turn off into the woods, up the mountain. And that's this climb here, that big one on day 2.
Jeez.
And on the maps,
How was it getting in and out of Canada?
very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's a busy port.
Yeah.
So they're used to seeing, with the Tour Divide going through there as well, it's not uncommon for them to see bicycles.
Yeah.
But as you go through there, you immediately go up into the mountains, and then up that Flathead Valley. I ended up not doing this portion, which took about 30 miles of my route out, because once I got there and I saw the terrain, and I realized I was just going to do an out and back.
I know how you love out and backs.
Yeah. Caleb loves them too.
Yeah. So this year alone, you've gone into Mexico and right back, and
Yeah.
you've gone into Canada
Except
and right back.
the government doesn't know about when I went into Mexico, though.
Shit, I'm sorry, I gave you up.
Which government?
When we were on the Terlingua trip, we literally walked across the border into Mexico and walked back.
Over the Rio Grande.
Because, guys, it looks so much different from over here.
Yeah, it was all hazy
It
and
was all
yellowy.
Sepia tones.
Yeah. So 2 nights in Canada. I mean, the Flathead Valley and the Wigwam River, you get there and it's like being in the movies.
Yeah.
It's just these amazing fly fishing paradise, and you see cars parked or trucks parked next to the road every here and there, and you'll just see people down there in the valley just
fly fishing.
And I met one guy he's like, he didn't get anything big, but he could see them. He took a video under the water.
Oh wow!
Of the big cutties just hanging out under, and I never knew cutthroat was a fish. I mean, I didn't know that. I knew it was a salsa bike.
Yeah.
But I never knew that it was a fish. I know it now. Now I know it very well.
Right.
I know what they look like.
Yeah.
But that's one thing about going into these places and learning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where these words come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And
you see any eagles?
I saw two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two really nice big ones.
Bald eagles or golden eagles? Yeah.
Golden eagles.
Golden eagles.
A lot of hawks.
Yeah.
So many hawks.
Vaya. Salsa Vaya. That was the salsa I was trying to remember a while.
It took you that long?
Well, we started talking salsa again. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to look this up. It was the Vaya.
So, a couple of highlights. I mean, obviously the landscape is, you're in backcountry and it's almost untouched. Did you see any litter?
Oh no, there's no litter out in those areas. There's no. Every now and again you'll come across a dirt road where locals have been drinking beer and the same old thing.
Yeah.
But
Keystone Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some bush up there. As well.
Bush.
But no litter, no papers, no cans, no bottles next to the rivers, nothing in the
no
water.
Vapes on the side of the road and shit. Yeah.
How many people did you randomly come across?
Very few up in Canada. The one campsite that I was at had two guys in there that were fly fishing for the weekend. And that's it. And then I saw some people up at the head of the Wigwam River. Two guys that drove in that were fishing for the day. So up in Canada, not very many people. The side of Glacier Park that I was at, I wasn't in the main tourist attraction portion where the actual glaciers are. I was next to the Flathead River most of the time. And that's the people don't hang out there.
Yeah. Didn't you literally just parallel the Flathead River for a while?
Yes.
Yeah, I was watching you do that.
Which is, I mean,
I can only imagine.
That valley, and every time you cross the river, you look across and it's just, you look at the mountains, you see the river. It's like a paradise.
Yeah.
It is amazing. The color of the rocks in the rivers, the blues and the greens.
Yeah.
It's like, this is nice.
Yeah. I got your postcard too.
Yeah.
And any unexpected hardships that you ran into on this trip?
I had one flat on that big long descent. I just heard psst, and
Yeah.
Felt some stands on my leg.
Yeah.
And I knew I got a puncture on the back wheel. Stopped. It was stands that sealed most of it. Quickly got the plug out, plugged it, gave it a couple of pumps with my pump.
MSR pump.
No,
I'm kidding.
Lezine.
I don't even know if MSR makes pumps.
They probably don't.
Just figured everything's MSR.
Yeah. But I've got the Lezine, the one with the hose. That's got the little foot.
The mini foot pump.
The chrome one.
Those things are awesome.
It is. It does actual volume.
Yeah. You can switch that one too. You can do high pressure, high volume, can't you?
No, you have to choose the high pressure or the high volume.
I've got the high volume.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for.
You don't need high pressure.
They can pull cores though on some of the.
Yeah, I've got my my valves. The front one is the same. I've got a core tool on it, and I do take spare cores anyway.
Yeah.
But I've never had it pull my cores out. I tighten my cores down quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm very sure to make sure
Yeah.
that when I do take it out, that
Yeah.
you check that the core is
Yeah,
still
because
tight.
you have to screw that one on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Even there at home, I've got their the blast pump, which you open up and it seats the bead.
Yeah.
That screw top, it's very effective, but it's a pain in the ass to use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the quickest, but so what kind of plugs are you just doing? Bacon strips?
I've got the bacon strips, and then I've got the thicker black ones as well.
Yeah.
And usually when I have something that, because this thin bacon strips, usually if it's that size,
Yeah.
the stands just seals it up anyway.
And you were carrying a tube, right?
I was carrying a tube.
You carrying a TPU or old school butyl?
No, the pink, what are they called? The new ones?
Can't remember what they're called.
Because they're even thinner.
Ride Now or something
Yeah,
like that.
they're even thinner than the previous, those orange ones that
Yeah.
I'm a big
The
fan.
Tubalitos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in case you're doing that, then, I mean, you're looking at, it's either ending your ride or you're putting that in. So I don't think a butyl tube, and I can pack 2 of those
Yeah.
in way less space than a
One standard
regular
tube. Yeah.
tube's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brad mentioned he was dot watching, so obviously you had some sort of tracking device.
I had the Garmin Messenger, the little one, with the antenna, because most of the places where I am, I've got no service for days on end. So I can at least through that and the Garmin app, I can text my wife. I can send the presets, which says I'm starting my day or I'm just hanging out for a while, but everything's good, and I'm done with the day. And then when I'm in the tent relaxing, I can connect it to the Bluetooth, and I can send a real text out to her. She can reply to me. If you're out that long, it helps a lot to get a message back from someone because you haven't heard from anybody in so long. So that's the little bit of connection, and I mean the subscription is worth it to me, even if you only use it twice a year.
Yeah.
Just those trips make it worth. And then the search and rescue, the SOS function that it's got, just gives you that little bit of peace of mind that if shit does really go sideways, someone's going to come look for your body at least.
So you had a full 6 days of riding, is that right?
Yeah.
So the first day you left from the hotel, and on the 6th day you returned to the hotel.
Yeah.
Other than that, you slept in a tent. No showers, just creek bathing.
I had one day just past Eureka, up on the close to Grave Creek. There was it was like a mile from where I was planning on camping, and it said, I saw it briefly on the internet. Pulled in there. It said it's a brewing company. I was looking maybe to get a beer for the night just before I go into the campsite down the road.
Yeah.
Went in there. It's got bicycle signs on it and everything. Pulled in there, and it was an oasis.
Yeah.
It was. It's not a hotel. It's the only cycling in only venue. If you show up there with a car, you can't stay there.
Yeah.
You have to show up on a bicycle. It's these wooden structures. They have 2 wooden structures, square ones, and they have this one that looks like a teepee. Just a platform.
You sent pictures of that.
Yeah, it's just a platform inside where you can put down your pad and your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
No door, but in the back they have proper showers, proper toilets. They have a living room. When you go in, there's no one there.
Yeah.
The owners have a woodworking place. They have a bike shop as well. A repair place. They weren't there the whole weekend, so you just open the door, go in, pay them by Venmo, send them a text that you're there. But they have sink, bathrooms, couches, decent. It's
But did
nice.
you get a beer? That's the question.
They have beer in the They have beer in the fridge.
Yeah.
It's you just pay whatever. You just add that to the Venmo.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, where was this again, and what's the name of it?
I'll look up the name right now, but it's.
And I'm going to get a picture of these maps before you fold them back up, too.
Yeah, it's right there by. what town is it? It's between Eureka and Trago. You go up right close to Theriault Pass.
Is it? And I'm sorry. What state is Eureka?
It's in Montana. I've got a photo of their sign. I know I'll pull up their exact name. But this place it's probably one of the best places I've come across.
I mean, I think you said it right at the very beginning when you said Oasis.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it just...
so you got a shower, you got a beer, and you got a structured place to sleep.
Later that night, 3 other people pulled in there.
On bikes, obviously.
On bicycles. Same thing, they just ran across the place. They didn't know.
But if you were going to be back in that area, you would pinpoint that as a place to stay, right?
Yes. If I was on the Tour Divide, because it goes right past that, that I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
Because it is just so amazing. The bicycle station is their name. The bicycle
station.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I knew it was something generic.
Yeah.
Hip Camp in Eureka, Montana.
Yes, they're on Hip Camp. And, I mean, I can't say enough about the setup they've got there.
Bicycle station. I'm going to be visiting there.
If you have the opportunity to stay there, it is great.
Yeah.
So
I'll put that in my notes for Tour Divide.
Other than that, every night in the tent.
Yeah.
That's the only night I didn't have to set up my tent. I got to dry out my tent.
Yeah.
Any weather events that you ran into?
Yes, the first day it was raining all day. It was cold. It was raining the whole fucking day.
And you didn't bring a rain jacket, did you?
I did.
You did, but you don't run pants though.
No.
We talked about this.
And not rain pants.
Yeah.
I've got long
hiking pants.
Like hiking pants that I wear.
Yeah.
To keep my legs cleaner and just have pockets and all of that.
You wear those the whole time or just as needed?
No, I wear them every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't put them away ever because I've got stuff in certain pockets that I know
that's
exactly
part of your
where
storage
they are.
too.
But you're still running a chamois, right?
Yeah.
And you run a bib.
This trip I ran my new endurance bibs from Jackaroo, and the endurance chamois makes a big difference on these long trips.
Yeah.
Their regular bibs or regular pants with their regular chamois are fine.
Yeah.
But if you're doing the longer trips,
the
endurance chamois is worth the extra little bit that they charge for it.
And I'm going to ask you a bunch of goofy questions real quick, but you don't run. You don't run any chamois butter.
I've changed over. Donahue got me onto the endurance version of the chamois butter. You know, it's like a solve almost. It's not the cream in the tube.
Salve, that's how we say it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though.
It's in a. It's like in a shoe polish container.
Oh yeah. I have seen that.
Yeah.
And they have a euro of that as well, don't they? The stuff that's the cooling.
The tingling. tingling feeling. I don't go for the euro. No.
I like that. I noticed I was at the shop the other day and they have a coconut now. I didn't even know that was a thing. Literally, chamois butter has a coconut version. So I don't know if it uses coconut
you
oil.
Want to smell like you're on the fucking beach the whole time.
For those that like to toss their salads?
I don't know. I didn't know it was a thing. But
so yeah, that I because you can decant that into a smaller tin container.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty stiff cream, and you use very little of it. One thing that it does help a lot for also is nipple chafing.
Yep.
Because that's one thing that, I mean, if you're riding all day and your shirt gets wet and then it blows cold and whatever, I tend to get some nipple chafing.
Yeah.
And you apply some of that and it is...
ShiftLess tip of the day for anybody that does run into the raw nipples, don't know what, just throw a little bit of lubricant on there of some sort.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
It makes it a non-issue.
Yeah.
Versus being quite painful.
And you did not carry a duplicate chamois.
No.
Right? So you ran the same chamois.
You just had one bibs chamois the whole trip?
I've previously ran 2 it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
I've tended to. I washed this one twice.
Yeah.
On my trip, and it turned out fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just. I
Yeah.
already know the answers, what you're
Yeah,
going to
but I
say,
mean,
but I
people
want
listening
other
that-
people.
yeah.
Yeah, because.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is all new to me.
Yeah.
You know, backcountry.
It's not about you, Brad. It's about Garrett and our audience.
No, because backcountry long
So
trips
aggressive.
are different from weekend
Yeah.
bikepacking trips.
Yeah. A, you're not moving as slow. I mean, not moving as fast.
Yeah.
You're. And
You're a lot heavier
Yeah.
loaded.
Yeah. And you're setting up for tomorrow, today.
Yeah.
But I was more curious, because I see a lot of people doing Tour Divide sand chamois, like,
Yeah.
and that boggles my mind.
I will say
But-
one thing about my big trips.
Yeah,
In what do you call these things?
Air quotes.
quotes.
Air quotes.
yeah,
My 6 day, 7 day trips. It has cured me from ever wanting to do the Tour Divide. It hasn't-
It's not. It's that one's
it's
not on your bucket list.
It's not
then.
awoken the feeling of, oh, I want to do the
You don't want to do it for a month.
No.
Yeah. So 6 days is enough.
I'm good with a week.
Yeah.
I can follow that logic.
And then I'm like, yeah, doing this for a month, it's not what I would find fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot, especially if you go into these this amount of climbing
Mm-hmm.
with a heavy bike. Some of those guys get their setups really light, and they
Yeah.
don't mind being in a bivvy or whatever.
Yeah.
But being in that for a month,
yeah,
I might be making some assumptions here, and Brad, I'm sure, will have his own opinion on it. But I think for many of the Tour Divide participants, the fun isn't necessarily the month of it. It's
It's
the
doing it.
the accomplishment
Yeah.
itself
Yeah.
is the
no,
fun.
and I completely get that.
it's all the stories and the memories.
It's a big feather in your cap to say that you've done it. It is a big undertaking, and
Yeah,
But I definitely
And one
get
day-
I definitely get where you're coming
yeah,
from.
and
though.
one day maybe I'll do it.
yeah,
Realistically, for me to say I'm going to take a month out of my life and go do it is, at this stage, it's not something that I can even aspire to, because it's not realistic to go and do it. And
But to have the desire to do it is an integral piece of that.
yes,
Yeah.
and currently I don't have that, because that itch is scratched by my yearly trips.
Yeah.
Where I get enough of it to where it's still fun, and I enjoy my trips.
I will say this, Gary. You definitely rekindled a spark for me to throw another multi-day in my and not a 2-day, not a 3-day, a 4 to
Yeah.
6 day. That's kind of my
And that's-
sweet spot
that's where
too. And riding solo is definitely my sweet spot.
it's
as well.
bikepacking weather too.
And that's the thing for me is, I mean, there's so much, like Adam always says, the world is enveloped in bullshit.
Yeah,
And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you make peace with dealing with that. And
Yeah.
this just gets a reset
yeah,
in your whole, getting away from your phone, being unattached to anything, not having any external input
yeah,
other than the signs that you see on the road, or the
Yeah.
people that you meet. And everybody's friendly.
yeah,
Anyone that you meet along the way is going to be friendly. The only person, maybe there might be someone on the road in a car or whatever that honks at you or whatever, but
that just
Yeah.
got back from dropping their son off at jury duty or something.
exactly. But on your ride in the back roads in the middle of nowhere, there's not a single person that you're going to find that's going to be
confrontational. There's no
No.
Karens out in the middle of the
especially
woods.
if you're on a bicycle.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
that breaks that barrier down further.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hiking, it breaks it down even further.
Yeah,
I like to cover more distance.
yeah,
The Pole Bridge Mercantile was one of the eye-opening sections for me. You always see the photos,
mm-hmm.
and it's this little place in the middle of nowhere. There's no one around.
yeah.
It was a clusterfuck when I got there.
How so?
It was Labor Day weekend.
Mm,
There was a fucking million cars there.
really?
Parked down the road, all the way up the street. There was so many people. I couldn't wait to eat my bear
Porridge.
claw, my bear claw,
Oh, yeah.
and get out of there.
Yeah.
I got a couple of photos.
Was it like sensory overload after being like
Yeah.
alone?
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And being out in the world and you meeting people is different from getting to a destination like that where those people are there to, I don't know what they're doing.
Sightseeing.
Yeah, they're sightseeing, but it's like you're invisible.
Yeah.
They're moving
Yeah.
past you, but they don't even realize.
They're on their own personal
Yes,
journey.
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like you're a fly on the wall,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you've been cycling all day, and you're busy with something that's important to you, and you just it's very surreal sitting
Yeah.
there and just these people just moving past you,
Yeah.
and then getting back on the bike and just feeling like, oh fuck, I'm glad I'm out of there.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
these
man.
people are
I may have to go off on my trip today.
yeah, no, and I call it a reset.
Yeah.
This one was special on day 5. I could feel there was a switch that flicked, and I know exactly when it was,
Mm-hmm.
when that reset happened. And it was emotional because
Yeah.
it's like, there it is.
Yeah.
This is what I was looking for. It just flushes everything out.
Like a
and-
cleansing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very, very emotional.
Yeah.
And
Cathartic?
great day. Yeah. Yeah.
So like if your trip was only 4 days, you would have missed out on that.
And that's the thing is you got to go. That's the thing with shorter trips. I usually try and do 6+ days because I've found that it takes me at least more than 4,
Yeah.
usually 5 days to get to that point where. And people think that, oh, while you're riding, you think about so much of life. You don't think about anything. You think about, when am I going to stop again? Where is the next hill? How high is it? How long is it?
Eating.
How many miles is it? What am I drinking? What am
Yeah.
I? That's all you think about.
Yeah.
Your mind is constantly busy with math and
Yeah.
fucking, how many miles have I done? How many
Yeah.
miles do I have left? Oh fuck, I've only done 5 miles. I only have, I've got like 60 miles left.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's this constant thing. You're busy. You don't think about life.
Yeah.
And people tend to think when you're out there, you're going to be thinking about bigger picture stuff.
Yeah. Like painting baseboards and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. You end up thinking about nothing, and that is the therapy.
Right.
That is the good that comes from it, is just blanking out and
Yeah.
thinking of little mundane things, not thinking of anything else.
Yeah. And just admiring natural beauty.
Oh, all day long.
Yeah.
You know, just looking at a tree, seeing one that's special, or
Yeah.
a mushroom, or trying to figure out, is this bear shit looks like it's full of berries and this one looks like he ate a fucking rabbit. You know?
I did see that picture of that big ass mushroom you sent.
Yeah.
That looked like a shit. I lost the name of the mushroom real quick. I was gonna say cordyceps, but not cordyceps. But anyways, just every picture you sent, I just was enamored by the beauty.
I have 900 photos.
Jesus.
And I always tell Shutterfly has a special every now and again, and it's free photo pages
Yeah.
on their books.
Yeah.
And people are like, why do you take so many photos? I'm like, because when I'm at home, I like to sit and flip through those books
Yeah.
and look at the photos and realize, you know what? I did that.
Yeah. You know, I notoriously take way too many pictures too. And when we go on trips, like when we went to Terlingua, or when we go wherever we go, I come home and I airplay my pictures to the TV.
Yeah.
And I go through with my wife and just go, here was this and
Exactly.
this and this. And it's like an old school thing where people used
Yeah,
to do
the slides,
slideshows,
yeah.
you know? And it was such a pain in the ass because you have to get queued up and have to have the screen and the projector and all this shit. And now it's just modern day technology. You can just screenplay it or airplay it and just go through 40 pictures real quick and go, look at this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I took this picture of this. I love it. I love it.
And it just jogs your memory of, I
Yeah.
saw this, because you would forget most of the stuff in the mix of all the other great
Yeah.
things you saw.
it all gets washed together.
Yeah. So I like printing those Shutterfly books
yeah.
because then everything's in there.
Yeah. Very cool.
Because if it's just on my phone.
Oh, you do printed pictures too, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so the photo books is, I mean, if you just do it on the regular, that book would be like $500, which is stupid.
Yeah.
But every now and again they have the free extra pages, so then it ends up being like $100 max, I think.
Yeah.
And you can have all 800 photos in that book, and you just flip through it, and you don't have to filter them out. You can just put all of them in there.
I'm not familiar with it all, so bear with my ignorance here. When you say a Shutterfly book, is this like a picture per page? Is it 8 pictures per page, or
you can put it however you want.
Or is it a coffee table size book?
I do the 14 by 11s.
Okay.
So it's a decent sized book. You can lay it out however you want. I usually just throw all my photos in there. It automatically does a decent layout.
Yeah.
You can then just go and fine tune it.
Then you refine it from there.
But some of the photos are full page. Some of them are 6 photos on a page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a calendar every year through Shutterfly, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I wait for that coupon code of the free photo pages,
Yeah.
and I just get all of them, as many photos in there as I can.
And you didn't bring any of your Shutterfly books with you.
I unfortunately didn't even think about that.
If he brought everything that for show and tell.
Yeah, I've got one for each one of those big trips.
Yeah.
And
this one would be no different.
No,
yeah.
as soon as I get the code, I'll have the book printed. And
well, they're listening, so you'll get a code today.
Yeah, it might already be there.
Might already be there.
Episode 70 something brought to you by Shutterfly.
Man, I feel like we could talk until the sun goes down, and we still wouldn't cover everything.
Yeah, we're officially at our longest episode in months. So.
Yeah.
And so much deeper we could go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like we just scratched the surface.
I think we need to have Gerritt back.
I've been calling for Gerritt for quite some time. And the reason he's on today, first of all, today is what, the 9th, September 9th.
And this episode will go up the 11th.
Yeah. I've been trying to get him on for a while, but like I said, all this stuff just happened, and I really wanted to talk to him. And then he's about to be out of pocket for like 2 weeks. So I was like, can you do tomorrow? So it worked out perfect.
Well, and I'm glad we were able to get him in immediately after Judgment Day.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's a hell of an accomplishment. Again, congratulations on that
it's still
one.
fresh in everybody's mind. And congratulations to every single person that got a top cap out there, and those that didn't, better luck next year. And just ride through the pain. Remember, it doesn't get any easier for the guys at the front. It hurts just as much for the people at the front. They just have learned to ride through the pain.
Okay, quick question before we have Brad do his traditional send-off. So you do your trip every year. Do you know what next year's trip looks like yet?
No, this trip was planned 2 weeks before I went.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going to go. So
no, I don't yet.
Let's use that as the seed for the next conversation, because I'm fascinated by shit. Now you've got Kevin itching to do this sort of a trip. Not up in Montana or anything. I'll keep it more local, but just to go do a Kevin getaway.
Yeah, same. I want to strap bags on my bike anyways because it's getting to be that weather.
It's the right time of year.
But I also feel like we need to start this conversation again with you and go through the steps of how you put together something like this, how someone that has no idea where do they start. I mean, obviously you've got your nutrition dialed, your fitness is good, your bike's set up, you've got bike bags, you've got a camping system, you've got a cooking system,
all in glorious living color too.
Finally.
Yeah. But I mean, even if somebody can check all of those boxes, fitness, equipment, nutrition, all that stuff, you still have to identify the route and how to map it and how to structure it to where you can sleep. And I'd love to go through those details, especially like if you just say, I'm going to start from here. How do you work from there? Let's visit that in the future if we could.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think the the basic premise once again is if you're looking to get into it, go out with people that you know,
Yeah.
or get some guys together.
Yeah.
Go out for an overnighter.
Yeah.
Start figuring out what works for you.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to get you into it. To even see, I mean, you see people doing the Tour Divide, and you're like, oh, I want to go on that.
Yeah.
You might get out there and think, oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't want to, because once your bike's loaded up and it weighs 90 pounds,
Yeah.
you get on it, and it's like, wait, this is not like riding
Yeah.
Irwin. This is different.
My Fargo's so happy loaded though. It's such a good bike when it's loaded.
But you have to be comfortable with riding a bike that's heavy.
Yeah, it definitely is.
That's
Like
the-
leading up to a bike
Yeah.
packing trip, I load my bike down and do multiple test runs just to make sure my bags aren't going to vibrate loose or fall into my tire and that kind of stuff. And it's always that little switch where you're like, oh shit, this is totally different. And it takes a couple of rides before you're like, okay, I'm not going to be moving as
Yeah.
fast. I'm not going to be hucking off of curbs and, turning real quick and all that stuff. So it definitely is a change of pace.
One last thing that I'd like to say is I did on my salsa anything cradles on the fork. I used to have their own straps,
Yeah, their straps are shit.
and when your fingers are cold and it's early in the morning or late at night and you're fucking with that
Yeah.
buckle,
And they never get
it's a
tight.
nightmare.
Yeah.
I switched those over to the voile straps.
Night and day. So
Amazing.
I did mine. I immediately threw those straps away. I went to REI and bought. They make a 6-pack of hook and loop that has a D-ring on the end. So you run it through. It comes back, loops through, and you can get it super tight,
Yeah.
super easy, and it just makes sense to me. Those other
Yeah.
straps are worthless. So
Yeah, I've used them for 6 years now.
yeah.
I finally made the switch, and I'm like, there's a reason why they're called ski straps, because they're
Yeah.
made for cold weather when
Yeah.
your fingers aren't working,
Yeah.
and
And you
they
can do it with
are
gloves on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they work amazing.
Yeah. Great hack. Let's go ride bikes.